Brad, how did you see the effort tonight?
The effort?
Yeah.
The effort was okay. The execution was poor. So, I think even though we were low on the inside 50 count, we created plenty of opportunities. We just couldn't finish it at different stages, which is, I think, I'm sure you're going to ask about Zach Merritt at some stage, but it's incredibly frustrating, probably more so for him because he is such an elite finisher. But he reflects all of our leaders who are understanding of the challenge that's in front of us right now, but they never at any stage have searched for an excuse or accepted one if offered. So, there have been things keep coming up every week for us at the moment, unfortunately, but we just keep finding a way to get out there and competing. So I think that part of it was pretty solid from us, but it's getting frustrating because the effort's not translating into the result, mainly because of execution.
Were you disappointed with the pressure though, probably in the second quarter? It just felt like one of those games that it didn't feel like it meant much to people, if that makes sense.
No, it meant a lot to us, yeah.
What about after half-time? The pressure seemed to lift after that. Were you pleased with that?
No. I didn't see that. I don't share your views on that, but... Yeah.
On Zach, how was his hand? He obviously had the glove on. How bad is it?
Well, it's sore. It's 6 holes drilled into a bone in his hand, so he's sore. But he's it was always going to be a challenge for him to play. But we and he were reassured that there was no risk. In fact, it's reinforced, with the surgery and the plate that was put in his hand that there's very little risk. So once he was assured of that, there was no question that he would want to play. But it looked like it. I mean, we struggled to have him in the centre bounce because he was hampered in there with that. But he did what he always does, which is just keep fighting and competing. And I thought he had an influence.
Will you take him to the Gold Coast?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, unless there's risk or he can't function, but he'll be better next week than he was this week. He just a couple of times trying to handball right-handed, when it's hard for him to clench a fist, it was a challenge. But again, it comes down to we were assured by the surgeon and by the medicos there was no risk. So once they told him that, he was always going to declare himself fit to play.
What did you make of Isaac Kako's?
I think it was not easily, but the best game he's played for us. He's one of only a couple of, or I think 4 players who have played every game for us this year, which is always a fantastic effort for a first-year player. And we're asking him to do a fair bit. We saw him coming into our side playing as a deep small forward. And as the season's gone on, normally when first-year players start to fatigue a little bit, we've asked him to do more. And now, I thought he showed some exceptional traits in centre bounce when we were struggling in there. So it speaks a little bit to our team at the moment that we're asking Isaac Kako to go in and help remedy an issue at centre bounce. In the last quarter, we put a second-year player, Archie Robbins, in centre bounce and play as a genuine midfielder when he's never done that at AFL level. But I think that the exciting thing for our fans, as frustrating as this is right now, is that Angus Clark played one of his better games for the year. And we actually, as a coaching staff, we're looking to them at the moment to play major roles for us. They're not just support acts. And clearly there's a lot of personnel not there, but it's I think we start next year with every player except one I think has played AFL footy on our list this year. So every player next year will start thinking that they're a really good chance to be in our best side. So that by definition should make us stronger, but it won't necessarily make us better unless we capitalise on the exposure to the youth that we've been able to get out there this year.
I think 9 of 21 players tonight had 21 games or fewer coming in. So a night like tonight where you don't get the result, what sort of dividends do you think we'll be paying come, say, round 5, 6 next year?
Yeah, well, again, we don't take that for granted. I mean, it's you know, and it's not just our young players. I mean, when Archie Roberts went into the midfield in the last quarter, you know, 6 of our 7 defenders went on our list last year. So you know, one of them wasn't on our list 9 weeks ago. So, you know, and he's playing on a Coleman medalist. So that part of it's a real challenge. But I think that the assistant coaches have done a terrific job trying to make it work as best we can. And again, we haven't conceded, which should hold us in good stead for the future, but it doesn't guarantee anything. And I think it's not just our young players. I mean, Mason Redman has been exceptional, playing ultimately as a key defender. You know, and we think he's taken his game to another level. So we've got to make sure that even if we do get some personnel back, that, you know, he keeps, you know, improving and working off the foundation that he's built over the last few weeks.
Do you see Archie Roberts as a midfielder down the track, or has just been so good down back?
Yeah, it's a bit of a. I mean, he was a, in my opinion, an elite junior midfielder who then, you know, and this often happens in the championships, the Vic Metros, the South Australians, you know, but in Archie's case, a Vic Metro player who went into a Vic Metro team stacked with midfielders. So, you know, he ended up playing back, but, you know, it's going to be an interesting discussion, but hopefully an option for us because we don't have many at the moment.
What about Kako? Is that the same? Obviously, you said you got him in as a deep small forward
Yeah.
in the midfield.
Yeah. I mean, we because of his attributes, we think he's got he can play midfield, but you know, right at the moment, we're asking a first-year player to play multiple positions for us. So, you know, I think it's, if you look at all the best teams in the competition, you know, I look at Brisbane as an example. You know, they've got so many A-grade midfielders that they're pushing them out to wings and flanks and even deep forward at different stages. So, you know, Cam Rayner's a good example. Pick one in the draft. You know, midfielder, he has spurts in there, but he's mostly playing forward. So we'd ideally like to have a problem where we're, you know, pushing guys out of the midfield, but at the moment we're sucking them in.
Spoke about execution. Is it a matter of synergy or is it a matter of the personnel? What do you think?
I think it's a combination of both. You know, I really felt for Liam McMahon tonight. He came up at the ball, you know, in good positions, and we just couldn't get it to him. So, unfortunately, you know, I made the decision to sub him off, not because of what he was doing. We just couldn't get the ball to him. So, you know, we had to make a change there. But you know, we've got, like every team, and we've got a lot of work to do in that space. And you know, we'll definitely get better. But in terms of the connection, you know, it's you know, I don't need to make the excuse. It's just the fact that these guys haven't played together. So, you know, I think a really good pre-season in that space will give us the opportunity to improve. But as I keep saying, it doesn't guarantee it. So we've got to go and get to work on it.
At what point did you know that Laverde and Durham wouldn't play tonight?
When I got to the ground, yeah. Yeah, it's not as if we've got a, you know, we end up with one emergency left. You know, we left Hobbs out. That's a selection issue, but he's sore as well. So you know, that made it very difficult to put him in the emergencies if we needed to use him. But you know, we were very, very confident that Laverde and Durham would play. You know, but when they got to the ground, and you know, they're both similar in terms of when they say that they're struggling to function, like they mean it. Like that, those two would, you know, especially on Zach Merritt's 250th, you know, they would, they'd do anything to get out there. So when they were doubtful, it's just, you know, we can't play them because it actually hurts us twice. Like that, they don't function at the level we know they can, and you know, it hurts us for next week as well.
Are they likely to get up on Wednesday?
Yeah, but I mean, it's like this year. It's like, you know, the medical staff said no, they'll both be right for next week. I say, oh, we'll see how we're going on Tuesday.
It was reported yesterday that Dylan Shiel won't be at the club next year. Have you come to a decision with Dylan?
Yeah, no, that's not my. I mean, Dylan and I talk about it all the time. It's not my understanding that you know I've given Dylan all the scenarios that he needs in terms of we can't guarantee a position for him next year, and this has been a discussion that we've had regularly throughout the season. Because I really feel, and there are a number of other players I've had the discussion. I don't want to go into all of them individually, but he's been fantastic, Dylan, in terms of his attitude, and he understands the position the club's in, and he understands the position that he's in, and that there are no guarantees. But it certainly hasn't been locked in. It's just the conversation has been we can't guarantee him a position on the list next year.
Thanks, guys.